He has a way of doing those things. Must have kid.
Okay, so we'll thank you, everybody, for coming. Joined by Joe Lopano, Paul Anderson, and the Honorable Mayor Bob
Buckhorn.
One thing we thank you, and thank you to all of you. One thing we did learn on this trip was the name Bob Buckhorn is very, very challenging to pronounce in Spanish. We heard lots of different iterations on it. So,
But it is now a household name in Panama.
yeah.
He also did get promoted to go to University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I don't know if that's.
So good. So, just want to start. Number one, it was an amazing feeling to get on a flight at 7 o'clock in the morning, land in Panama City at 10 o'clock, and be in a meeting by 10:45. And then on Wednesday, to get through a day full of meetings, jump on a plane at 6:30 and be home by 10:30. This is the beauty of a direct flight, to Panama City, opening up Latin America, is the accessibility, the connectivity, and it's a lot quicker to get to Panama City than it is to most cities in the United States, and that's why this relationship is so important to us. This trip was all about building relationships, and we took an A-list delegation to Panama City. We touched all the major organizations in that community: the American Chamber, the Panama Chamber, the U.S. Embassy with the commercial service staff, Copa Airlines, their executive team, the Panama Canal Authority, the federal government, municipal government. We had high-level meetings and presentations with all of these organizations. And most importantly, we took a united front from Tampa Bay. We took the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce was with us at the table, represented by their chair, Robin De Laverne, and Karen Arnold. We took the Tampa Bay Partnership, represented by their chair, Barry Alpert and Stu Rogel. Airport, the Port Tampa Bay, and what we heard over and over again is no other community does it like Tampa Bay. They don't see this from other places. Our goal is to fill the business class between Tampa and Panama and points beyond. We want Copa to increase flights from four days a week to daily, and we want them to go 2 times a day and more. We're ambitious, and we planted some very good seeds on this trip, and now it's our opportunity on both sides to cultivate them into further economic opportunity. With that, I wanted to ask the mayor to say a few words, and then we'll turn to Joe and Paul.
Do you want me to do it in English or Spanish?
En español, por favor.
Buenos días. Bienvenidos. Muchas gracias. That's the end of it. For all of us, we set out 3 years ago to make Tampa and Tampa Bay the gateway to the Americas. We had some obstacles in our way at the time. In spite of the fact that we share a language, we share a culture with Central and South America, Mexico, we really did not have that connectivity. We did not have, literally and figuratively, the gateways into Central and South America. That has changed in the last 3 years. It has changed drastically. We aggressively set out on a course to plant Tampa's flag throughout the world, but specifically with our major trading partners where we have this natural affinity. The key for that, for us, and I think when we look back on this time in our history, the development of that relationship with Copa Airlines and the announcement by Copa that they were going to fly 4 times a week, and I anticipate in the not too distant future that it will be a daily direct flight, is a game changer for us. And I know the word game changer is used frequently and oftentimes overused, but I think it is accurate in this particular situation. The work that Joe Lopano and his staff did, and some of whom are here today, pursuing Copa, because those of us who were there in that first meeting were told in no uncertain terms that Tampa is not even on our radar. And it took 2 years of work by Joe and his staff to convince Copa that it was a good business decision, that it wasn't because we're great folks. It was a business decision that made economic sense, that wouldn't affect their routes in Orlando and would allow them to capture business that was going to another airline for people who had to go to Miami. Once that happened, the floodgates have been open. This is my third trip to Panama in the last 2.5 years. We have established relationships with the business community there, with the political leadership there. They know who we are. You're going to hear from Paul in just a second about the key and important relationship between the Port of Tampa, which is the closest port to the Panama Canal, and what is going on there at the Panama Canal, and the huge capacity for additional container business that we will see right out this window right here. But more importantly, I think what it has done is set in place the opportunity for significant long-term investment, but going both ways, both U.S. investment in Panama and Panamanian investment here in the Bay Area. One of the groups that came with us that is not here today, but that already has a footprint in Panama, is the University of South Florida. They have been there for about 8 years. The cultural exchanges, the educational exchanges between Panamanian students coming here, our students going there, our ability to lend expertise, particularly in the healthcare arena, to the government of Panama and to the Panamanian people is significant. There are ongoing discussions with Panama about establishing a Camels-like facility in the country of Panama. And so we are not only just talking about commerce, but we're also talking about broadening the educational horizons as well for both this city and the country of Panama. I was lucky enough to be given the key to the city of Panama City by the mayor, a very, very gracious woman. This is what it looks like. It gets me no access to the Panamanian banking system, but, you know, which was very nice of her to do that. It was a very, very nice ceremony. It was a very formal ceremony. I'm usually the one giving the keys away to folks, and it was nice to be receiving one as well. All in all, I think it was a great visit. I think we need to do more of them. I can tell you, if you don't go get the business, it's not coming to you. And so it's important that we take these types of trips. It's important that we continue to take these types of trips, that we continue to focus on our trading partners that are meaningful, that have the ability to pay, and that are interested in establishing these business relationships. It's changing. Tampa really is, I think, well on the way to becoming the gateway to the Americas that we set out to be 3 years ago, and it's largely because of the people that are here beside me, as well as some of the folks that are standing there, as well as a couple of our partners that are not here today. We're going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to broaden that horizon. I mean, we've already hit Brazil, we've hit Colombia, we've hit Panama multiple times. We're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to spread the gospel of Tampa, Florida, as long as we're breathing.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I turn over to Joe, I want to thank also Deborah Wilkinson, who was with us from Tampa Bay Trade and Protocol Council, and also Lori Belovich from the EDC was the person that put together the trip. Thank you, Lori, for all your efforts. Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I think the mayor talked about collaboration and the fact that these trips are important. This doesn't always happen this way. This isn't the case in a lot of cities. We have a team in place right now in Tampa that is something that other people would envy. And we have a mayor who's willing to dedicate his time and go around the world to support flights. We have an EDC that organizes these things in a very professional manner. And we create awareness of Tampa as a major international economic center. The fact that we have a flight to Panama is extremely important for us at the airport, but it's more important for this entire region, because it's a flight not just from Tampa, but it's a flight from Tampa Bay. It's a flight from Sarasota. It's a flight from Lakeland. We represent the entire region as the gateway airport to the west coast of Florida. And so this flight is proving the fact that we can sustain international service, especially to South America, just like Edelweiss is proving the fact that we can sustain new services to Europe, just like Seattle was announced the other day. The reason those things are successful and are announced is because people like the mayor and Rick and others, Paul, have gone out and met with these airlines with us and said, not only is the airport interested in having you here, we are interested in having you here. And they put skin in the game. And when an airline sees that kind of commitment by a community, A, to get the flight, but B, to keep the flight, after you get a flight to Panama, you have to fill it. That's what this mission was about, creating awareness in Panama of the city of Tampa, the region of Tampa, and creating those kind of relationships the mayor talked about that will fill that flight. That is extremely important. As far as the performance of Copa, I won't tell you the exact numbers because that's airline confidential, but I will tell you that they are running ahead of expectations. Their December was very, very strong, and the first quarter of this year looks very good for Copa as well. While we were there, Chris Minner and Justin Meyer on my staff spent some time with Copa, understanding the challenges that they may have with the flight. They're very encouraged with the performance up till now, and we're in a very good place. So thank you very much for coming out today.
We want to thank Gabby, too, from Copa Airlines, who's our representative here. But Gabby, thank you for everything you did on this trip to make it go so well. Paul?
Well, first I want to thank the mayor for his vision and leadership to make this trip happen. He's been down 3 times now. And going to Panama for us at the port is not unusual. We do it all the time. But very simple. It was the leadership and the collaboration that you've heard from the mayor and Rick and Joe that is unique. I've chaired another community's EDC in South Florida. You just don't see this kind of working relationship at every level. It's amazing. I think that when you look at what this trip meant, taking a nonstop flight on it's not just Copa, it's Copa being a world-class airline as benchmarked against all other airlines. They are one of the top airlines in the world. This connects the Tampa Bay region to Panama City, which for the average person is like having Atlanta as the hub for Delta to Latin America. That's the equivalent. There's hundreds of nonstop flights. So from a standpoint of us connecting one of the most important trade gateways in the world today, Panama and the Canal, and all of the other billions of dollars of investment that's taken place to connect cargo to the rest of the world, to the Americas, is so important that we have this airline. The GDP growth in Latin America is significantly higher than the rest of the world, including the United States. Panama is the highest in Latin America. Almost all of the Latin American countries are at 5% GDP or higher. And it's just incredible growth. Every time we go back, there are new buildings. You can see the skyline of Panama City behind us. There are more sky cranes than anywhere I've gone in the world or anywhere in the United States that I've seen in many, many years. So the growth potential is great. And then our ability to meet the Panama American Chamber, which hosted us, and we had a presentation to them and tell them about the opportunities, not just to grow cargo, which is a priority for us through the Panama Canal, but to grow businesses that we can do business with from businesses in the Tampa Bay area, in Panama. The opportunities are great, and they want to come up here and do business. And now that we have a free trade agreement, which was a long time coming, it is going to facilitate an incredible amount of new trade opportunities between our 2 countries, and it's very exciting to be part of this group.
Thanks, Paul. I think with that, we open up to any questions that you all might have for us.
Rick, is there a tipping point to solidifying Tampa and Panama's relationship, like a big Panamanian company establishing headquarters here, daily routes from Copa? I mean, what significant event are you looking for to cement the relationship between the 2 cities?
I would say that the Copa flights are a barometer of the level of success and activity. As that increases to daily, which we're confident it will at some point, that's going to be a major tipping point in our relationship. It's also going to make doing business so much easier when you have a flight every single day because that's what business wants. They want that consistency, they want that predictability, and so that's going to open up the channel of business activity that much more.
I sat next to a guy coming back last night, and he's in the countertops, the granite countertop business. He lives in Oldsmar, and he goes to Panama all the time. His company in Panama is one of the biggest granite countertop providers in all of Central America, and he lives right over on the coast. And he said this is going to change his life, this flight. And so he flew down on Monday, came back Wednesday. It's a 3-hour flight. It's in the same time zone. You don't even change time zones. It's easier than going to Dallas.
What was it, what would it have been before you had the direct flight? How would you get to Panama before, you don't have to go specific, but it would be hours,
Oh, yeah.
7, 8 hours?
You have to
Yeah.
go through Miami first, and that's,
Well, you go through Miami or Atlanta, and it's probably a 5 or 6 hour journey versus a 3-hour journey.
Or we'd have to suffer the indignity of driving to Orlando and getting on a nonstop plane.
Well said.
But Eric, just by way of comparison, coming back through customs last night in Tampa, I mean, it probably took us 15 minutes to get through. Had that been in another city south of here, we'd still be in line. So, yeah, so in terms of competitive advantages, you know, a well-run TIA that's staffed appropriately, that can move people, you know, time is money. You know, that can move people quickly through the customs. I mean, we universally in Latin America, that is an experience that they don't welcome versus what they experience here at TIA.
Yeah.
I mean, literally 15 minutes I was through, and
So you add that to shaving off the time.
absolutely,
Mhm.
yeah.
Who do you see as your greatest competitors? Who else is going down there in some fashion and saying, we want to be the gateway?
You know, obviously, you know, Miami has always been a player there. Miami's been a destination for Central and South American money and resources. We recognize that. Miami's, you know, the international financial capital of the United States. You know, I don't look at us as competing with Miami. I look at us as complementing Miami. We have a different product. We have a different environment here. You know, when we went down to Brazil, or to Colombia with the governor, that was the largest trade mission that had ever come to Colombia from any country, city, or state. And so Florida is aggressive about pursuing this, and I think Tampa is particularly aggressive. We don't hear of other delegations from Florida down there as often or as active as we are. Now, you know, we know of LA having been there because Mayor Villaraigosa had been, you know, right there ahead of us. But for the most part, I gotta believe that Tampa is far more aggressive than certainly any place else in the state in terms of the willingness to go plant the flag and do what it takes to go get the business, and recognizing that if you merely sit here and hope that it comes, or if you send an email, you're not going to get anything. You have to go, you know, people want to do business with people they know.
and it was made very clear to us by many of the businessmen and women that we met with that now that we have a free trade agreement, those goods flow tax-free, which makes a difference. And if they have the preference, they like Americans. It is a form, you know, the Americans built and ran the canal until, you know, 1977. It's just, they're very warm, they're very personable, great people to work with, and they made it clear if they have a choice to buy goods or services from the U.S. versus somewhere in Asia, they would much prefer to do that. And now that we have this free trade agreement, and so that opens up the door for opportunities in the Tampa Bay region, particularly with the quality of the flights that we have and the frequency and the ease of travel. I also was sitting next to a businessman who makes his home in St. Pete. He has a home there, and he does business down there, and he comes back and forth once every week or two to his home. And he said this for him, he used the word game changer, Mayor.
And I might add to what Paul's saying is, you get to Panama City and you quickly understand it's a city that is just abuzz with infrastructure investment. They're building subway systems in the $1-2 billion category. They're expanding the Canal, which is turning into be a $6 to $7 billion project. There are huge housing developments underway. So a lot of infrastructure. They need companies to come and help to build the city, build the country. And they're a consuming country, too. They need agricultural products. They don't grow a lot of products there, so they consume. They need medical products, and they need electronic products. And these are all things that we make here in Tampa Bay. So our next opportunity with Panama will be in the form of taking businesses from Tampa Bay to Panama City and working with the commercial service there to set up the kind of meetings to sell products out of Tampa Bay. And we've also, talked to our counterparts there at the Panama Chamber about bringing a delegation here, because this needs to be a two-way street, and that's what we want to build.
And to really make it really easy for those that might want to do business in with Panama, we had we had a reception at the U.S. Embassy with Ambassador Farrar, and his commercial staff was with us from the very beginning of the trip till we said goodbye.
Yeah.
So their commercial attaché and commercial officers and all of the embassy staff is available to help Americans and those of us in Florida and Tampa that would like to do business, and they can open the doors, make the introductions, make the facilitations, and of course our staff with EDC and it can help make that happen as well.
And one other point I wanted to make, building on what the mayor said, USF has really blazed the trail, in Panama City with the Camels project, and they've just completed a feasibility study to build a Camels there. But our education institutions, University of Tampa, Ron Vaughn is here, the president, USF, have very aggressive international programs and great relationships in these countries, and we want to build on the alumni base in these countries as well to help establish the relationships. So there's a lot of opportunity here.
What's next for Tampa and Panama? There's another visit down the road this year? Or,
Well, the next, and I'm not certain of the order, but one is to take a trade mission or participate in a larger trade mission down there, but really take Tampa Bay businesses there to sell products.
do you have a time frame for that?
In the next 12 months. All of this would be in the next 12 months, and within that period, too, to invite a delegation to come here from Panama, so we can begin to treat them with the same hospitality that they extended to us when we came to their community. We want to return that.
Does becoming a gateway to Latin America, does that require expanding service to more cities? And I know the airport's been chasing Colombia and Brazil.
Yeah, our strategy is to connect, Tampa to the major economic centers of Central South America. So Panama has been achieved. Brazil is on the radar, certainly. And we are not negotiations, we're in discussions with the Brazilian Airlines to try to establish a flight. Those two really make sense. The thing about Panama that's very important to note is that by having a nonstop to Panama, in 3 hours you can connect in Panama City at their major hub of Copa to 7 cities in Brazil, to 2 or 3 cities in Costa Rica, to cities in Colombia, to cities in Venezuela. So it becomes we basically don't just have a flight to Panama City, we have a flight to all of Latin America.
Paul, can you talk a little bit about the Panama Canal?
Sure. First, we had a fantastic visit to the Miraflores locks, which are, the old locks. We had a luncheon with one of the top executives for the Panama Canal Authority. I did get a gentleman who I've worked with for many, many years, got an update. There is currently a contract dispute ongoing with the Spanish contractor that Panama Canal Authority had contracted with for the construction of the canal. It was about a $5.4 billion contract. The dispute is over additional funds for the completion of the canal. I did receive assurances that they have been ready for quite some time if they cannot conclude successful negotiations with the contractor, they are fully prepared to move forward with the completion of the canal, acting the Panama Canal Authority as the contractor, if you will. So they have a plan, a very logical and well thought out plan that they can execute if they don't come to terms. So that may mean a delay. My latest I got early this morning was that they have made some made some progress in the negotiations. They hope to have an answer in days, not weeks or months.
How does this affect Fort Tampa Bay, you know, the depths and everything? Don't quite
Well,
know.
the canal itself is a significant opportunity for new trade growth here in Tampa Bay, can be a big beneficiary in the long run. We just hosted our 7th annual conference with the American Association of Port Authorities. I think many of you were there for our press conference, called Shifting International Trade Routes, and that was stimulated by the announcement of the Panama Canal 7 years ago. We're going to be able to handle post-Panamax vessels with the 43 feet of depth that we have, which is currently the deepest port in the state of Florida until Miami completes their depth. One of the messages that I want to make clear is that, you know, we just overtook New York as the 3rd largest state. We're going to have 100 million visitors, on track to reach 100 million visitors in the state of Florida, more than any other state. And the world is growing and our population is growing. Our region is growing faster than South Florida by almost 2 to 1, are the projections. There is plenty of cargo opportunities to go around. And, you know, so we are very confident by not only participating on these types of trade missions, but our regular course of business and meeting with customers in Latin America, we're going to continue to grow. One of the key accomplishments we'd like to see in the next year is a service, direct service, just like we have with Copa to Panama City, is a direct service to the Panama Canal. We currently have Calcedo in the Dominican Republic and Kingston, Jamaica with our 2 carriers, and then they connect to the canal. So it's the equivalent of a one-stop flight, one stop on the cargo. So we're working very hard on that, and we see long-term upside opportunity for significant growth in the Tampa Bay area.
Great, thank you, Paul. I think with that, I know the mayor's got to be at another event here, 10:30. But
More good news.
want to thank you all for coming to this, and again, thank the mayor for leading this delegation and for all of our partners for participating. Thank you very much.